Okay, good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 25th of 2023, and I'm sitting here in the morning drinking my coffee, just sort of recapping what happened yesterday with the frames that I was working on. I took that break in the late afternoon and didn't go back in the studio. Tried to do a bunch of research online, especially on YouTube, to see if people maybe had some tips or encountered similar problems. And it's not that uncommon for miter saws to get misaligned like this. And actually, it's happened to me once before. And I think the last time I was able to sort of fix it to a place where it could keep working and it minimized the problem. But that was a few years ago, and now I'm kind of back in the same situation. So there's two tools that you can get. I don't have either one, but the first one is called a machinist's square. And it's basically, it looks like a metal L kind of square, but I think the way that they're constructed, you're able to more accurately measure the sort of perpendicular 90-degree angle of an area on a saw blade tool. I'll have to maybe buy one of those online. The last time this happened to me, I remember I was kind of looking at those online, but I'm gonna wait and see what I can kind of get done today. That's one of the tools. The other tool is a digital angle reader. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know what the exact name is for it, but you might see these in like Instagram or YouTube videos of people, woodworkers, like magnetically attaching a little digital reader onto their saw blades, especially on a table saw where you're trying to change the angle of your blade. That's another way, I think, to also tell if your miter saw blade is at a 90-degree angle. So those are two things that Home Depot did not have. Like, I don't think they sell those at all in their stores, but we did get a new vacuum last night that doubles as a leaf blower, which is something that we kind of debated getting like a month or so ago. So it kind of worked out that we got both tools for the price of one. Honestly, it wasn't that easy to put the accessories and the wheels on last night in the garage. So far, it seems to be a lot more powerful than the vacuum that I had before. And then, we got home, I unboxed the vacuum. I'm looking for the bag that lines the inside of the vacuum, and there wasn't one in the box. And on the outside of the box, it almost looks like they're saying that there's two in the box, but really there's a little line that says not included or sold separately. So I had to drive back to Home Depot and get the bags. But then when I was there, I was like, you know what, I might as well pick up some more plywood. So I got a sheet of sandy plywood for frame building. So today I'm going to try to work on fixing the miter saw. The other thing I'm going to do right away is put an oil wash on that black enamel frame. Hopefully I can get some of this stuff done before 1 or 2 o'clock. That way I have a few hours before I have to teach my online class. And then the last thing I'll say in the intro here is that, yesterday was just a rough day overall. Like by like 5 or 6 o'clock, things started to look a little bit better. I was optimistic about some of the vacuum saw things, and then towards the end of the night, I was checking on the Bucks game, and they were winning. They were up by like 8 or 10 points, like 5 to 10 minutes left in the game. So I was just checking things on my phone at Home Depot and then in the garage. And then, towards the end of the game, they lost the lead and then they lost the game. So they're down 3-1 in this series against the Heat. And it was just kind of it just kind of like put a bad stamp on the whole day, which was a bummer. But anyways, let's go ahead and get to work. Thanks to everybody who's watching and following along. Hopefully today's video is a bit more optimistic and positive. Before I add the oil wash onto this frame, I wanted to show you how these two looked side by side. So this is just the enamel spray paint that I've been using without any other sort of finish on top of the color. It's nice for me every now and again just to get a reference of how they look side by side with different artwork in them. But yeah, I think I'm happy that I went with the darker color for this painting. Even though it is really bright and colorful, I'm hoping that by adding in kind of a grayish wash into the little crevices and marks here, that'll help tone it down a little bit, maybe make it a bit less shiny as a surface. And then once that's done, I can drill the holes and mount both of the artworks in there, in the frames, and add a wire to the back. Okay, so I already pulled out a tube of Payne's Gray by Rembrandts. This is going to be pretty close to a neutral gray. I'll add it to a little bit of white that I just have laying around on my palettes. And I'm going to try out some of the Dorland's wax medium mixed in, hoping that that might give the paint a little bit more of an even surface. And that'll help take down some of the satin sheen that's in the paint. Once it cures, that should also help provide a protective seal on the wood. The only thing is I've never painted over enamel paint, so this could totally bust and not work, but at least it's a chance for you to see the process and to learn from whatever's going to happen. This is the medium that I use on top of the gouache paintings anyways, so it's also going to help unify the painting with the frame, I'm hoping. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Here's a little bit of the wax medium. Let's go ahead and mix that in here. First I'll kind of dab it around. That way I'm evenly spreading it out throughout the frame. And basically I'm just going to go through and add in the paint into the cracks of the frame and hopefully also create kind of a dusty layer over the whole thing. I'm going to stop the camera and put on some gloves, and then I'll show you how it looks after I go through the whole process of doing this. So this is just the top layer with the first pass of the medium. Already I think it's going to look a lot better just to have a more antique-y feel to it and a more organic looking surface. You can tell that the wax is also evening out that sheen. So I know that once it cures, you can go through and just lightly buff the wax medium. So I might end up doing that too, but I just wanted to show you the difference of how the paint looked before to now. So I'm gonna go through with the sides and add the same thing. And then maybe I'll take a clean rag and just wipe out any areas that are a little heavy still. So I brought the frame upstairs just so I can get a better sense of how it looks in natural daylight. The lighting in the studio is still a little bit weird, but yeah, I think this very light gray wash adds a lot to the frame and cuts out some of that really harsh black that it has right out of the can. And yeah, overall I think it looks good. It might be a little bit cool. I'm gonna sit with this for a few days, and if it still seems like the frame is a little too cold for the painting, maybe I'll go over it again with a umber kind of wash to warm it up a little bit. But I do like the character that it brought to the frame. Let me know what you think. So here are the two frames that I did glue up last night that were square enough and the corners looked okay to glue. They're pretty strong, so I'm happy with how they turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and put some nails in the corners just to reinforce them. I don't think I'll need to worry about the splines. Part of the thing that I forgot about yesterday is that all of these frames are going to have a piece of 1/2-inch plywood underneath them. And you know, it's easy to sort of forget that that will also help to keep each piece secured to the frame and just to reinforce these corners because they'll be attached through other pieces of plywood. All right, they're all nailed up. I did have another little shootout with the nail that just kind of like popped out the side of this piece, so I hammered that back in. I'll have to fill it with some wood putty. And another thing that's a little weird that I was noticing was that it seems like, I don't know if it's something about the position of my hose, but the air was really leaking out when I was trying to nail the nails in here. I don't know if it's something on this end, but it seems to be stopped where it is between 50 and 75, but you know, I typically shoot the nails around 75, 80, and it kind of was dropping throughout this just quick nailing process here. But anyways, hopefully I can figure that out. I just don't really want another wood shop issue to have to pay to fix. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. Hopefully that's okay. So here's the update on where I'm at right now in the day. It is about 1:45. I brought my miter saw in the living room and I have it set up here on our coffee table because I'm watching various YouTube videos on ways to calibrate and align the miter saw to make sure that everything is actually square. And I'm currently watching this video by Training Hands Academy. I've actually seen this video once before, and I think it allowed me to figure out what was going on with the saw. So I'm hoping that this can happen again today, because what I was trying to do outside really wasn't working. And it's actually colder today than it was yesterday, so I'm glad that I'm inside trying to take care of this now. It's about 3:15 and I have to stop for the day because I got to go teach my class, but I wanted to give you a quick update on where the frames are at. So I was able to just go ahead and put together the other 3 small frames. There was an extra set that was really, really bad. These 3 looked okay. I think it should be fine if I use a little bit of wood putty to fill in some of the gaps, but I was able to air nail all the corners and they feel pretty strong, so I'm not too worried about that. The next step is going to be to sand all of them with 60 grit sandpaper to try to level out some of these corners. And then I'm going to use just solid pieces of plywood instead of cutting 45-degree strips like I've been doing on the other frames for the small ones. And then for the big one, I'll plan to do just the strips on the back. So I think this will save me some time, and it'll just look a bit cleaner if it's just a solid wooden background in the back of the frame. So that's the plan there. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight after class. It's really cold today, so I might just wait and do these next few steps tomorrow. Here is the white and black frame. I brought them out here just to kind of compare colors for the egg tempera painting. So some of them I'm thinking I'll end up framing in the black. Like I really like how this one looks against the black, so this one will probably go in a black frame. And then this dark one too, as I was saying before, will probably also end up in a black frame. I think that's gonna look really, really nice. And then the rest will end up going in a white frame. Like I think the big one will probably look better in a white frame, but if you have any opinions, let me know. I'm always curious to see what people think about this. The big one is the one I'm most unsure about, if it looks better with the white or with the black. So if you have an opinion about that one, please let me know. And then for sure, I think these 2 will go in a white frame. I don't know. This one is another one where I'm not sure if it looks better in black or in the white. And this lighting isn't the best right now. But yeah, we'll see. I'm tempted to make all the frames black. That way it matches kind of as a set. All right, so I just finished teaching my online class almost an hour ago. It's 7:05 right now, and it's still light outside. I thought, you know what? Maybe I should still try to get some work done on these frames. And I was actually out here a little bit earlier, and I cut down those pieces for the backs of the frames. So now they all stack like this, and they're not exact. They're as close as I could get them on the table saw. I didn't want to undercut them on accident, or I guess overcut them on accident, because I want to make sure that the edges of both boards are as flush as possible. So that way there's no gaps, or there's the fewest opportunities for gaps to form when I put these outside sides to the frames together. So what I'm going to do right now is sand these for sure on both sides. That way they're nice and smooth, and I don't have to worry about any sort of rocking or weird like moments where they're not level on the frame. Some of them I think are okay, like this one feels okay. Other ones might need more of that sanding done with at least up to like 100 grit sandpaper, maybe even the 220 grit sandpaper. And I'll probably end up doing that outside, right outside the garage door, because I don't want to collect a bunch of dust in here. So I'm going to work on that right now too. And then once that's done, I'll cut these side pieces and maybe even get them assembled by the end of the night. That would be kind of nice, especially now that I have 2 different shop lights in here. I can really see what's going on now in the garage, which is really helpful. So this is kind of like the
the wood shop setup so far. This is an old wooden cot that Megan and I built for the van for camping trips. It's been working really well for the table saw. It has not been very useful for the chop saw or the miter saw. So I think at some point this summer, I'll probably end up building out a custom table that continues under the window, and that will be where I'll end up keeping the miter saw, and then maybe the bandsaw can just, maybe it'll go over here, or maybe somewhere like right here even. I could probably have it sitting here to create more of a little wall. It really just depends on the outlets, because some of the outlets are not working at the moment. So I have to be kind of limited to the front half of the garage for power. But that's another thing this summer to try to get up and running. All right, back to work. Time to sand. So I got all the backs attached, but while I was out there sanding, I had stacked up all of the frames, and one of them was way shorter than the other ones, like half an inch shorter. Look at that. And then I was thinking, like, what did I do wrong? How did this happen? Apparently, out of those last two groups of 4 sides, and I was, looking at both of them, and one of them lined up better than the other. I was assuming that they were both the same dimensions, but this was one where I had kept cutting it down and cutting it down. And now it's too short to fit any of these paintings. So I just have this extra frame that I'll have to make a custom little size painting for it, but it's not the end of the world. It just was one of those surprises where you're looking at it like, am I seeing this right? And now I have to make a whole new frame like this, hoping that my miter saw back there is going to behave. So let's see what happens. I've been talking a lot about the alignment of the miter saw being off. One of the other issues I've had recently with it, though, is that the size of the hose for the vacuum bag is a lot smaller than the hose for the vacuum. And it's a problem because the airflow will go as long as it's sitting on that plastic piece, but it would constantly fall off when I would close down my saw. So I just MacGyvered this cardboard and tape little adapter, and I think it will work. Let's hope it works. All right, I think that's it for today. I was able to get the back pieces of the big frame attached, and I've gone through and puttied all of the edges and corners. So tomorrow I'll come back out and sand the tops all the way up to 220 grit. That way they're good to go before I use these pieces to start building my sidewalls. And then at some point I'll have to start making the 4th small one. But if that one's not done by Friday, I don't think it's the end of the world. I might still be painting that one on Friday, but as far as photographing the work, I should be able to photograph everything with the 3 frames that will be done for those little ones. All right, thanks so much for watching the video. Again, stay tuned for the shop update on Friday. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm really excited to see these egg tempera paintings all framed up. They were a lot of fun to make, and I'm really happy that I'm putting this much time into framing them with handmade frames. So, all right, I'll see you in the next video.